Hello divas, dudes, and dolls, I'm Caricature, and welcome back to my coy, coquettish, and cocktail-ready little review show, Very Slay, where we go over each and every main stage runway look on RuPaul's Drag Race Global All-Stars. This week we have our season's first true standalone design challenge. The queens were tasked with bringing in a suitcase from home full of notions, fabric, and the like to create a new look, and then they had to pair up and exchange those suitcases with another queen in the competition. I think our mini challenge winner, Tessa Testicle, made the correct choice in going with Alyssa's because realistically, Alyssa's been in the game longest. She's gonna have the best stuff in there. That's just going to be the objective fact. Really, it's not a totally fair hand that everyone's gonna get dealt with this because realistically, whoever gets the bag of the queens that are starting off like on the lower end or who come from smaller drag scenes, smaller countries, or who haven't had a lot of time between their seasons or whatever the case may be. There's gonna be a lot of people in this cast who just don't have the resources that some of the other ones who have been in the game a little bit longer or who have more connections or local resources are just gonna have innately. So it was an episode. It was an episode that exists. Now let's get into how this show works. If I think that a look is kind of ho-hum, met the brief but didn't blow me away, we give it an okay. If I love it, we give it a slay, and if I don't like it for any reason in particular, we give it an A. That's all in efforts to find my weekly slay of the day, my favorite look out of every episode, and whichever look takes that top spot is going to go head to head up against Galavar's Garden of Eden look to battle it out to determine who is going to continue forward as my slay of the season. Whichever look holds that top spot at the end will get an illustration at some point. But all the sneak previews of all of the illustration work I'm doing will be coming over to Patreon. Like I said before, I had started my Marina Summers one for UK versus the World Season 2. I had gotten like pretty decently into it, and then I hit a point where I realized I just really did not like it, so I scrapped it and I'm starting over. So the revamped sketch will be coming soon, hopefully in the next week or so. It's just a matter of trying to get everything else done and pack things up to move life, you know? But anyways, let's get into these looks. Alrighty, starting us off this week, we are going to begin things with Alyssa Edwards. I think when you break down the base silhouette, hers is the simplest. So there's a lot you could do wrong with this. I think it's styled well, and I think that's probably why she was safe. And the hair, this tinsel hair, I'm kind of here for. It's really hard to wear a wig like that and have it not get like tangled the hell and back and look like a fucking mess. So the engineering on this wig is really well done, really well structured. I think the way she used the fabric was probably the best she could do with what she was given. I noticed a lot of folks saying the asymmetry comment that Ru makes throughout the episode and throughout a lot of design challenges where you have to like use asymmetry to feminize the body to take down being broad. I get that. But I think Alyssa's silhouette here, it doesn't really bother me that much because she's pretty cinched. And the top of it, the top half of this dress is a feminizing silhouette. She has sort of a breast cup allowance in there. She's got a feminine neckline. And yes, it's short. Yes, it's just a straight cut dress. But I don't think it's poorly made. I don't find a lot of construction issues with it really. So I'm not mad at it. I think it is on the lower end of safe, but I also don't think it's horrible like some people are acting like it is. So I'm just gonna give this an okay and move on. I suppose the one thing it could have benefited from was maybe a different shoe. Next up we have Tessa Testicle, and I think this is probably my favorite look aside from her Color My World runway a couple episodes back. For her, I think the silhouette is really flattering. I think the way she's placed the ostrich feathers, again, we're going back to that asymmetry point. It works here because it's asymmetrical. It works here because it kind of goes up the hip. It really adds some shape and some volume there. And then having the asymmetry and the design for the neckline and for the sleeve, I think it works for me. The one thing I really don't like is the thickness of the ponytail because she wears a ponytail like this. It's a very similar silhouette, I believe, in the girl group challenge that is a better ponytail. I really love the sculpt and the cut of the bang on this. I think it's really flattering on her face. I think her makeup looks gorgeous. But I think had the ponytail just had a little more volume to it, I would have loved it even more. Regardless of that fact though, it's a slay. Next up we have Soa Demuse, and her look, I think, finishing wise, the drape on it isn't all that impressive. It does look a little muddy, but it's not horrible. I think from the neck up, best she's ever looked. This makeup, like, let's take a second to talk about how basically in 1 week, she went from her colors being kind of muddy, not the best, you know, her makeup really kind of being the weakest aspect of her drag, to leveling it up like that. Like, it's a crazy shift. This mug is incredibly gorgeous. Just the highlights in the face that she didn't normally have, it lightens and softens everything. So good. Like, she looks airbrushed. This is perfection from here up to me. I love the turban. I love the hair. I love this color on her too. I just think had the drape been a little bit different through the dress, she probably would have been fine. But unfortunately, I do think it is one of the weaker looks in comparison when you get into the construction of the dress itself. I think the overall package though, it's okay. I do think that it is better than Alyssa's. I will say that much, because Alyssa's silhouette is very similar to Soa's base dress, but there was more work put into Soa's in terms of like the whole presentation and styling, in terms of like the extra fabric draped along the back, the fabric work and the draping through the bodice. I just think her biggest thing is that the draping wasn't done in an incredibly effective way. Then we have Vanity, and considering she had to kind of scramble to throw this look together, I'm not mad at it. Honestly, I think this is my favorite thing she's worn all season, which is sad. Her makeup here, favorite mug from her, by far. I loved the styling of this. I actually really like the headpiece. I think it's cute. And I like what she did with the asymmetry. I think had she taken the flowers that are on the same side on the bottom, had she swapped it, had she done the big flowers up on the top here and then done the smaller ones on this side, I think that would have read a little better, because the one side is like detail heavy and the other side is just like a little cinched corset thing with some like makeshift fringe spray painted and attached to it. I like the incorporation of chains. It really is like the textile work of these like paper flowers that she stuck onto it and then spray painted that does it for me. I think that's the best part of this whole look. I think in a pinch, she did her job, but I do think it is definitely deserving of being towards the bottom this week. It's okay. It's like Soa's. The face up is a slay, the rest of it is fine. Then we have Queen Kong. Honestly, this is also one of my favorite looks from her. I love this hair. The hair is so cool. And I love that she just looks like a frilled lizard. A frilled lizard about to do business. I think the cut, especially through the shoulders, because Queen is so broad, this like punky kind of Vivienne Westwoody moment, it makes sense. At the same time though, I do think it's kind of a crock of bull that they harp on the asymmetry on a bunch of other queens, but they don't with Queen, because Queen's look is a very symmetrical cut. There is like some asymmetry with the draping and like the chain work that does help a little bit. Again, it helps that she's corseted, but she is really top heavy here. And she's a broad gal. And if the whole thing for doing asymmetry is to eliminate broadness, Queen added to it. Like, she looks like the most feminine linebacker right now. I love it. But where was that critique for her compared to some of the other girls that got it for just doing more of like a straight cut piece, you know? Questionable. Questionable judging on the RuPaul's Drag Race. Are we surprised? No. That being said, I still really like this just because it pulls from a lot of things that I personally enjoy, like aesthetically, so I'm gonna give it a slay. I do wish that the frills were smaller though. I think they are a little over the top. I think had she focused on just really making a well-constructed garment with the shoulder pads and maybe done a little bit more finesse on the drape through the hip in that little section where the chains are, I think it would have been even better, and she wouldn't have needed all of this tulle. Or she could have used it in a different way. Then we have Galavar. Now, Gala's look here, I am so torn on, because from like here up, again, incredible, gorgeous, stunning. never been done before. It has been done before, but her mug and the hairstyle, everything, it's great. This whole color palette with this hair, the black and gold, it's giving me 90s Versace. And I think had she taken the gold, instead of having it up here, had moved it down here, and then I don't really think she even needed to pad. I think had she just done the lower gold placement with the black gloves, and I know she had to work with what was in there, but God, do I wish that she had some gold chains, that she could have done like an asymmetrical drape with it. Because had she done something with that, had some like gold accessories and some gold detailing in throughout that, a gold earring. I don't really like the earring with this, in all honesty. I think she could have gotten away with not using the fishnet tight and just doing like a sheer black. Maybe with a gold pump. I like the black pump with it. There are issues with it, yes, but they're issues enough that aren't egregious that you could have justified, like, had she just moved the gold down, it would have been fine. I like it. I don't love it though. I'm just gonna give it an okay. Next up, we have Nelania, who is giving us this lovely little lavender floral moment. I do find it a little ironic that Kitty in the confessionals was complaining about Nelly complaining about trying to sew this fabric over the 4-way stretch lycra because this top fabric wasn't a stretch like that. She's calling her thick for trying to do that. But girl, you brought the fabric to Drag Race because you thought you were going to make something with it yourself. So like, wouldn't she have had the same problem? When we get to Kitty's look, which we'll probably talk about next, we'll get into how I feel about her more then. But Nelly's look here, I think is adequate. I think there's some finishing issues for sure. She's another one who did like a pretty straight across design, but didn't get clocked for it not being asymmetrical or not being super feminizing. I think because she made it a little longer, it's not as bad. And because she's covered up the upper torso and the shoulders, I think the styling choices is what kind of helps feminize it. But she's another one where they don't give her that critique of the silhouette being not feminine enough, which is a little odd to me, that it's just for select people, you know? Again, suspicious, weird even. I think it's cute. I love her makeup. This purple eye on her is really, really pretty. But at the same time, it's not incredibly visually impressive. So I would say it's okay. Okay, now getting more into Kitty. She really is, this season, making it really hard to like her at all. And I know some of it is just like British sense of humor kind of thing. Jesus Christ. I will say, to her benefit this week, this is probably the best runway she's had so far. And that's saying something. A lot of some things, actually. I think the color palette looks cute on her. It's giving very Muppets, very 70s campy diva, which, you know, I can be here for. The cut on this is really flattering on her. Has the asymmetry going on that Ru really likes. She has the asymmetry that I really like. But I will say, this skirt silhouette here, this is not the first time we've seen this skirt, like this particular asymmetrical hemline. Not the first time we've seen this from her. She has a little bit of it in her yellow look from the Color My World runway. It's also what the orange look from that same look ends up in. And I'm sure it won't be the last time we see that. I know she's only repeated it a couple of times, but I think we're probably gonna see more of this cut for her. It does work. I still don't love it, so it's just gonna be an okay for me. Overall, it's kind of a mid-week, if I'm honest. And then we have Patha. Now, the dress itself is like immaculately made. I really love the fact that she did like a nude bodysuit out of it as well, like a nude paneling and some sleeves, so that way she didn't have to like shave. Like they said in the critiques, the styling is what does her in here. The black gloves and the black shoe don't work with this at all. The post that Patha has made of this look, where she's in a gold glove and a gold shoe, that's what she should have done. I think it was just mostly like a time thing, like she just had to scramble to style it with what she had around. I think she did make it work, but the black gloves really chop her arms off in a weird spot with this look, so it's not my particular favorite. I also don't think it's horrible. And I think when we get into the base garment itself of the dresses, Patha's dress is the best one, just as a standalone garment. Tessa's full package, though, was the best full package, so that's why I think she's the rightful winner on this challenge. Patha's look is a slay for me. Well, there we have it. Not a nay in sight this week. I think everybody did decent. at least. There was nothing in the runway that was like awful or just horribly bad. Whether the garment was kind of lacking, the styling made up for it, or if it was a great garment, sometimes the styling took it down a little bit. I think it was a pretty solid episode overall, aside from all of the kitty bullshit. So I think it goes without saying that realistically, it goes without saying that there's only one true option for me for Slay of the Day this episode, and that's Tessa Testicle. And we're gonna put her look up against Galavar's Garden of Eden and determine who holds that top spot going into next week's episode. And surprise, surprise, it's still gonna be Gala. I'm sorry, as much as I like this look from Tessa, I don't really adore this look from Tessa comparatively to Gala's. This look is just gonna be tough to beat. It's gonna be tough to beat. And next week is Snatch Game, so it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out, because so many of these queens who don't speak English as their first language are going to have to translate their comedy into English in a way that will make it make sense and make it work. I'm curious to see what people are gonna do. I'm really curious to see the choices and who excels. That's gonna be it for me for today. Be sure, as always, to like, comment, and subscribe. All of those lovely little things. We will see you all in the next one. Be sure to go out there, stay kind, y'all, stay queer, and make sure that your day is very slay.